I hereby call the meeting of the Senior Caucus to order at 6:50 p.m. And I want to welcome everybody. I'm really glad you're here. I can see that people must really be highly involved in the primary or other things, based on the fact that we got a smaller than expected pre-registration. But I think people will be joining us soon, and that'll take care of that. Anyway, while I'm at it, I think what I will do is give a little land acknowledgement. I'm talking to you from the unceded land of the Kumeyaay, and we want to pay our respects to them for the fact that we're on their land. Since it's unceded, it's technically still theirs. I guess they could take it back. So thank you, Kumeyaay. We normally have a longer land acknowledgement, but to cram everything in, we thought we would keep that short, but it's still sincere. So we have an agenda that is on. I'm looking to see if I have it handy. Well, no, I do. No, I don't actually. The agenda was on the email that announced the meeting, but I can read off what it is. We're going to start off with what I'm doing now, which is the call to order, welcome, and land acknowledgement. The next thing is the approval of the agenda. This is the business portion of the meeting. Then we want to approve the previous minutes, and then we'll do a quorum check. And to do that, what we'll have to do is on the honor system, ask you to raise your hand if you are a member. After that, we'll have the officers that are here introduce themselves and maybe tell a little bit about themselves or what's going on in their part of the state. After that, we will have a visit from either Derek Tran or his campaign manager, who I don't know the person's name. Derek has sent us a video. He is in district, I think, he's running for Congressional District 45, if I'm not mistaken, which is one of the redistricted ones. And we have a little video of him talking about himself a bit. After that, we'll have CARA come on. That's the California Alliance for Retired Americans. And what we've asked them to do is tell us what significant senior legislation we should be supporting. After that, we have Dr. Shirley Weber, who is our Secretary of State. Basically, she's a big fan of ours, and she's a really good supporter of this particular caucus and maybe all the others. So I basically told her she could talk about whatever she wanted to talk about, except that we would like to hear if she's aware of any of the Trump administration trying to mess up our primary election and eventually the general election by trying to get people kicked off the ballot and changing laws and all that kind of stuff. So that's hopefully the main thing Dr. Weber will talk about. We've had her before and she just does a great job. If there's time, we'll do Q&A after Dr. Weber, or with Dr. Weber for a few minutes. And then we have Mike McGuire, who is also one of the hot seat candidates. And by hot seat, we're defining that as they're important to flip the districts. They've been configured, configured. And that will give help give the Democrats a majority in Congress. After that, we will have DNC reports, and sometimes those can last a long time. So we've asked that only 2 or 3 DNC members talk. But they just recently had a meeting, and we want to hear the results of that meeting and their plans for the election season coming up, and anything else that was important that came up in the meeting. After that, if there is time, and there probably won't be, is my guess, we'll have an open mic where you can raise your hand and we'll call on you and you can, say your piece. Renee, is there something you want to
Yeah,
tell us?
yeah. I just want to ask that when Dr. Weber comes on, and I'm happy to put the question in the chat for you to reference, that uh, that you ask her just regarding the Grundman uh, candidate statement. Many of you might be aware there was this kind of uh, anti-Semitic rant of a candidate statement in the voter guide. I just want to ask how did this happen and what's being done about it? And I could
Well,
just put that in a chat to remind you.
or you have the chance to raise your hand and ask her yourself when that comes up.
I'm just
Either
concerned
way.
about the time constraints, but of course, be happy
Okay.
to.
All right. So that's it. So for now, so the next thing is, uh, that's the agenda. I read it off. May I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I move
As long
move
as
approval of the
you're, okay.
agenda. Renee Zimer.
All right. If there's anyone opposed to the agenda or wants to change it, um, raise your electronic hand and I'll call on you. Going once, going twice, the agenda stands approved. Now, the next thing that we
I'm
need to
sorry,
do
I,
is
I saw Renee moved. Was there I hear a second for the minutes?
you don't need to do that when there's this few people. But okay,
Okay, I
is
saw
there a
Carol, you indicated a second, Carol Taylor Son- from Sonoma. That's not your last name. Okay.
Carol
Oh,
Sonoma?
what a cool last name.
Okay, well, to make our secretary happy, is there a second on approving the
Well,
agenda?
I've accepted Carol Taylor.
Oh,
So,
okay, all right,
so do
good.
you want to do so without objection then, or?
No, I've asked if there was an objection, and people said no one raised their hand, so it's official.
No, thank you.
Okay, now in the last flyer or newsletter telling you about today's meeting or this evening's meeting, it had a link to the previous minutes for the last meeting we had, which was at the convention. And if you've got that in front of you, take a look at it. But we don't really have time to have people do that before um, we you know vote on it. So if is there anyone that would like to see some changes or does not approve of the minutes because they think there was, or they feel there was something important left out, please raise your hand. Okay, going once, going twice, going 3 times. Now, that was not a motion, that was just an ask. So, uh, for our secretary's sake, as he's writing this stuff down. Now, if you are a 2026 member, so you paid your dues, we've managed to get it so that people who paid dues in December of last year count for 2026. So if you paid them in December or up until now, or you signed up for a waiver, dues waiver, please raise your hand, your electronic hand, if at all possible.
Uh,
I'm afraid nobody knows how to raise their electronic hand. We
oh,
need
there we
to,
go.
yeah, I don't know how to raise it in anything but the a computer. If it's on a phone, I don't know how to do it either. Is there anyone else? Or should we, why don't I change to a view where I can see everybody? Right now I'm on the speaker view. Okay, those of you, oh, but you don't have your cameras on. I was going to say those of you who do have their cameras on, if you raise your biological hand, that would count. So I see 1, 2, 3. Wait, Joe, you can't raise your electronic hand?
I did, but it made a thumbs up fly into the ceiling.
Oh, because you hit the wrong icon. Okay, so we have an additional one. Raise your hand, keep your hands raised. 1, 2, 3. And I saw Dottie, that's 4. So that is a total of 15, which just hits the quorum so that our votes can be legitimate. I suppose technically we should have done a quorum check before we voted for the approval of the agenda. Okay, lower your hands and we'll go on to the next thing. The next thing is the introduction of officers. So I'll introduce myself first. Hopefully you've been to other meetings prior to this one, so you know who I am. My name is Mike Thaller. I live in San Diego. I am the chair of this caucus. And I've already started working on the primary by being on the go team of my local county party. And I am also president of Progressive Democrats of America, California, where I've been working on taking a survey to see how members of that organization uh, um, are planning on voting and all sorts of other survey questions that will be of interest as the primary hits. I did one thing interesting though I asked people in that survey what political party they were registered in, and we had 3 of them out of the approximately 300 that have answered so far that said Republican. And I thought, why are you a member of Progressive Democrats of America? But maybe that shows that Republicans are so fed up with Trump and everything that they decided to join a Democratic organization. Okay, so that's me. And next up, I'll just go by my list here. Next up would be Dottie. So Dottie, what are you up to? Where are you? And all that kind of stuff. And you need to unmute before you start. Dottie, can you unmute, please? There you
Can
go.
you hear me now?
Now we can.
Now, what was that question again? When I
Well,
was
where are
trying
you
to
from
unmute?
and what's going on in the
I'm from the
Central Valley?
I'm from the Central Valley, the center of the Golden State of California, and we are moving right along as we plan for what's next. And I'm happy to say that in Fresno, California, we are pretty progressive. So I'm trying to keep up with what's happening on the state and national level as it relates to us as Democrats and as progressive citizens.
Okay. All right.
Was that good enough?
That was plenty good. Thank you, Doc.
Thank
Okay,
you.
next up, well, I see Janine has her hand up, so why don't you go next, Janine?
Well, I just took my hand down. That hand was
Oh, that was left over from before. Okay. Well, next on the list, well, why don't you go ahead and,
but
in
that's
fact,
okay.
Janine, you happen to be next on the list anyway, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Southern California vice chair, and I was just trying to think of I mean, I'm doing various different canvassing and tabling in my area, but as I see Annalisa Swan, we had LACDP meeting the other day, and we had some victories in Whittier and up in our I don't want to say Antelope Valley. Annalisa, do you want to unmute for just a moment? Because LACDP on a national level has a little bit of attention because we've been able to do so well in certain areas in LA County. Annalisa, do you want to comment on that?
You're exactly right. A big win in Whittier, where we flipped that city council, electing 3 Democrats, including a mayor, and then the other seat, the other 2 seats, we flipped up in Lancaster in the Antelope Valley. So some big wins. These Republicans kept trying to kind of suppress the vote by doing these elections in April, so off cycle. So the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, we made a point of canvassing and phone banking and turning out the Democrats, making them aware that these elections were going on. So we really boosted the turnout percentage as well.
Right, well, thank you, Janine. And let's see. Yeah, Dottie, would you mind muting yourself? After Janine, we have Joe. So, Joe, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Mike's been a one-man band here from the land acknowledgement, and so I didn't have to speak up on the quorum or the minutes, but I appreciate us moving things along. I'm a longtime activist. I was very, very active as a young Democrat in the California Democratic Party, I was president of the UCLA, the Bruin Democrats there, and used to come to all the conventions, and now I'm secretary of the senior caucus. So I've done the whole life cycle, as I'm fond of mentioning. My day job is running a nonprofit organization, the Center for Healthcare Rights, and we help people navigate the Medicare program. Each of you in your own county has what's called a health insurance counseling and advocacy program, or HICAP. And if you do know folks who need help with Medicare and related health insurance issues, from simple things like being new to Medicare or having complex appeals, I do encourage you to send them to your local HICAP. Today, the big thing I did was help to unite some older adult advocates from LA County and have them visit with some of them from the Inland Empire, San Bernardino and Riverside, because they in the Inland Empire are very advanced in local implementation of the master plan for aging. And those of you that were at the last couple of meetings know that we had the director of the Department of Aging and a former director who later became Governor Newsom's senior advisor on aging issues, speak about the master plan. And actually, she joined us from the Netherlands, which was pretty cool. But so I'm trying to practice what I've been preaching, and this organization has been focusing on the master plan. And hopefully, we'll get the current crop of candidates for governor as soon as they resolve a little bit of that scrum to also make a similar commitment for the next, hopefully, 8 years.
Okay,
So
thank you.
thank
Thank you,
you.
Joe. Next up, we have Carol. And Carol, you may notice that we're already a little bit behind schedule. So,
Oh, that doesn't matter. No,
okay.
Carol Taylor. Listen, I want to thank everybody here for coming. We just found out like less than 48 hours ago that um, less than 15% of our members had gotten the announcements for these meetings because Gmail all of a sudden has been putting our emails into the spam folders. So everybody here is probably somebody who's been contacted in the last 24, 48 hours, and I really, really appreciate your coming. Thank you.
That okay? And where are you from? What part of the state?
Oh, Sonoma. The city of Sonoma, which is in the county of Sonoma.
Okay, and of course it says it on your little picture, so that helped a little bit. Okay, last but not least, we have Angelica. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mel. Hi there. Good evening. My name is Angelica Lopez Moyes. I am in Los Angeles, born and raised, uh, working with various community groups down in Los Angeles, based in downtown, based in Chinatown, focused on affordable housing. And I have been serving, I guess I've been a member of this caucus for a number of years, have served previously as your treasurer, currently in a role as communications officer, and then focused on legislation as well. And we're hoping to focus on some items this evening and get the work moving on that for getting the party to take a position on some items. Thank you.
Okay. All right, that's the introduction of officers. Next up is Derek Tran. Is his one of his staff members here to actually give the presentation? And I have a video ready. So raise your hand.
Yes, hello.
Ah, excellent. Good. I was sweating that one. Like, uh-oh, our first guest speaker isn't even here. So why don't you go ahead with a little presentation. You've got 6 or 7 minutes, something like that, and we have that video that lasts less than a minute. If you want to
Yeah,
show.
absolutely. Sure. So, I guess I'll go first. So, my name is Jindale, or Jin, as I go by on the campaign, because we are always short on time. I say gin like the drink. But so nice to be with you all. Thank you so much for jumping on this Zoom. And I guess just a little bit about me. So I am not a native Californian, unfortunately. I'm one of those darn campaign folks who have moved across the country. So I'm actually originally from Iowa, and I was in
Hi
Iowa
everyone, this is
last
Caucus from Derek
cycle.
Tran.
No, sorry about that. Go ahead.
I was in Iowa last cycle. I ran Christina Bohannon's race. She's in Iowa 1. If anybody is following the red to blue map, she's running again. But she got in within 798 votes of a win in a Trump plus 8 district. So we overperformed the congressional map by 8 points, and it was the highest in the country. So we did a lot of really good work in the heartland. So she was actually the third closest race in the country, and Derek, as you probably all know, was the second closest race in the country. He was on the winning side, thankfully, so he won by 653 votes, which is a very, very, very small margin of votes. So I guess I also like to live on the margins, and I'm accustomed to tough fights. But even before that, I was in Pennsylvania. So we helped secure Pennsylvania for Joe Biden in 2020. And then I went down to Georgia for the Senate runoffs and helped get those Senate seats for Senators John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. And then in 22, I was in PA again, helping the state to flip the state legislature from red to blue. And that year also, we ensured access to abortion in the state, which was also a nice feather in the cap. So, like I said, I'm accustomed to tough fights, which is why I am here and with Derek, because even after Prop 50, so we got a little bit better. It was a true toss-up district before Prop 50, but what is left of the Voting Rights Act has protected those um, communities around CA 45. So we actually didn't change the district too much. I think we've got 2 points better, 2 points more blue, 2 to 3. So it's still going to be a dogfight, just a little, hopefully less skin of our teeth this time around. So we've got 4 Republican opponents that are running against us. All are Vietnamese. And if you may remember, so Michelle Steele versus Derek Tran. Michelle is a Korean American. So Little Saigon, which is in our district in CA 45, really, really turned out for Derek because they have never had representation by a Vietnamese American before in Congress. And Derek is currently the only Vietnamese American in Congress. So his campaign was definitely historic. And thank you to everybody on this call who helped secure that seat for him, that victory for him. And we're going to have to do it again. But like I said, so all four of our Vietnamese or our Republican opponents are Vietnamese. So that will certainly take a little bit of the support away from the congressman in Little Saigon, which is why we're going to have to all pitch in as much as we possibly can. He is the most vulnerable incumbent in Southern California. Him and Adam Gray are the two frontliners that remain in California after Prop 50. So this is an all hands on deck dogfight as it was before. So, but he is very excited to be able to flip the House, to be able to actually push forward legislation that is going to help people, affordable housing, affordable healthcare, just prices generally across the board, since Trump has done such a great job of keeping those low. Um, and it's been really, really tough without holding the gavel. They have no idea what they're going to vote on. They have no idea, when they're going to vote on it, and they have no control over the schedule, which will all change once we flip the House, which we have to keep the seat in order to flip this House. So, I believe we can do it, but it does take everybody getting involved. So we are out every single Saturday. Those who like to canvass, please join us. We are every Saturday in the district, in a city in the district at 10 a.m. And then we also have phone banks that happen every Tuesday from 5:30 to 7:30. So would love to have you all join us for those. We got started early. We got started in January, and now with the primary coming up, we're going to finally see who gets through, and then it'll be off to the races until November. So lots to do, lots of work. But I hope you all get involved. We have to put the energy that at least I have from all of the terrible news that I hear every single day somewhere, and this is how I choose to do it. So, and I'm sure you all are similar because you are here on the Zoom. So, we're not waiting for the election to roll around. We are starting now. We have, like I said, canvases, phone banks. We're looking for meet and greet hosts. We're looking for help with yard sign distribution. And of course, we have an Act Blue and a PO box if that is the way that you can get involved and donate. We also would love to have his support that way. So I will pause there. Yeah.
Yeah, can we hear from Tran at this time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. This is Congressman Derek Tran. I'm so sorry I couldn't be with all of you today, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. This year hasn't been easy, but when we take back the House, we will be able to make real progress for our community. We can invest in affordable housing, quality caregiving, and protecting Social Security benefits. While Republicans are trying to dismantle Medicare and Medicaid with their big, ugly bill, I've been fighting back to protect your health care and your hard-earned benefits. I've introduced legislation to create a free legal hotline for seniors who need assistance, and I've delivered hundreds of thousands of dollars to seniors who are missing their Social Security benefits. I'm so proud to fight alongside of you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jen, and thank everybody, I guess.
Oh yeah, I will pass your
Thank
the
Derek
information.
for
Yeah,
us.
yeah, absolutely.
And,
I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
okay.
Mike, I wanted to just mention quickly, I put in the chat the new map for District 45. And just in case there's we're encouraging folks who want a phone bank to, take a look at this district to see if they can help out. I don't know whether there's any canvassers, but I just thought it would be good to see the areas that what are the areas, Jen, that I'm curious if you could comment that are
before we do that, Jen, could you put in a link to where people can get in touch with the campaign in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and then I think we need to move on.
So just really quick, we gained a part of Norwalk city, the city of Norwalk. We have like the southern half of it. We also have a little sliver of Santa Ana that we adopted. We got rid of some of Placentia. We have still a little sliver of Placentia, and then we also no longer have Brea in the district. So we have a lot more of LA County and also a little sliver of Santa Ana, which gives us that Democratic registration advantage. So we have to introduce him to all of those thousands of new people and new voters there. So yes, one more plug for phone bank. And this is one of the most diverse districts in the country. So it takes a lot of hands on deck to organize it. So any help is very greatly appreciated.
Well,
And I will drop my contact in
get
the
the
chat.
link in there and let's move on. Thank you once again. Thank you. And thank Derek for us. Okay, so do we have the CARA representative here? If so, raise your hand.
Right here, Ramon Costablanc.
Okay, Ramon. All right. You've got, let's see, roughly 17 minutes. Let's make it 15 minutes. And hopefully you'll be talking about some of the legislation that maybe we should support and anything else that CARA is doing that we will be interested in. So take it away.
I'll start with the election because we have prioritized trans district. We ran a phone bank last year, Prop 50 phone bank, senior to senior, and we reached we dialed over 400,000 numbers. And it was, if anyone wants to help us, it was the easiest darn phone bank I've ever worked because, senior to senior, talking about the way things are going right now, an awful lot of friendly, responses. And so we turned out to vote in that case for Prop 50, and we are looking to use that same process. We have the latest technology of phone banking, and like I say, we've targeted 4 districts of the state of California for next fall's elections, and they are Trans District, also Gray's District, and then District 48. I guess that's ISIS district we're going after, and District 22, which is Valadeo's district. So maybe we're finally going to take that guy down. So that's what we're doing politically this coming fall. So we'll be endorsing all those people and working for them. So to go from there to the legislation that we're working on right now in the state capitol, basically there's 2 bills and 1 AJR Assembly Joint Resolution. So the bills are AB 2575, and that is one that's been put forward by the California Nurses Association. And the issue there is the use of AI in healthcare, because it is proliferating very rapidly, especially with the Trump administration's hands-off attitude. A lot of businesses are rushing into healthcare now with their AI, looking to have it decide what kind of treatment we get, it decide what kind of conditions we have, and there's a lot of risks. AI has all kinds of blunders built in because there's no database from which AI can draw that does not include medical errors. And so the AI just simply regurgitates whatever it finds in the databases. Sometimes it gives you good advice, sometimes it gives you terrible advice. For example, AI can mistake a stroke for a migraine and send somebody home who obviously ought to be in the hospital. AI can mistake pneumonia for asthma. And again, send somebody home that actually desperately needs care. So it's a very problematic system. It also can recommend treatments that you don't need that are expensive. So A, it puts you in unnecessary medical care, and B, it can do that, and B, it can run you up big costs that are totally unnecessary. So AI has been cut loose in the healthcare system. It is really very poorly regulated. So what 2575 would do, AB 2575, would give your nurse the authority to override AI without any retaliation or discipline from their hospital or wherever it is that they're working. So this is to protect the nurse from any retaliation for using her own judgment or his own judgment when they think that, the treatment recommended is wrong, or they think the diagnosis is wrong, the nurse gets to call the shots, and protect your health. So this bill has gotten through all the assembly committees, policy committees that had to get through in April, and it's now heading to appropriations and assembly appropriations. The entire medical industrial complex is opposed. When they call, okay, who's in opposition? The line goes all the way to the back of the room. Hospital Association, Medical Association, the insurance industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the clinics, Kaiser, they're all in that line. Everyone that's in the medical industrial complex, except for the nurses, is opposed. So, but we've gotten this through. It's not easy. There are legislators that I think believe that AI is infallible. Listening to some of them talk, it's like, oh, it'll cure cancer, or oh, it'll do this other wonderful medical thing. That is bunk. AI is not, clear of errors at all. So that's our first bill. That's going to be a rough go, but we got it through the Assembly policy committees, and here we go. And even if this doesn't make it all the way through, or if Newsom vetoes it because he's getting too much money from the AI industry and he wants to be president, we will have broken ground on this issue, because this is for the rest of our lifetimes, all you seniors and us. This is going to be a political issue that is going to come up again and again and again. So this is basically year one of the battle with AI healthcare, over our health, as opposed to the profits of the industry. So that's one of our two big bills. The other big bill is AB 1790 by Damon Connolly. That's the fellow that Bonnie and I met a few weeks ago in his office in San Rafael. And that would eliminate one of the major tax breaks that got put into California code way back when Deukmejian was governor. And basically, it's called a water's edge tax break. What you can do if you're a big corporation, and it's like mostly, or a lot of it is now Silicon Valley Corporation playing this game. You make a bunch of money in California. You set up a phony shell corporation overseas. Cayman Islands is not an unusual choice. You have some phony contract with the business that's in the Cayman Islands, let's say, to do nothing, but you say they're doing something, and you send the money there. So that way, in terms of your California tax return, that money's not in California anymore. It was an expense and it's gone. And so this is a tax dodge that is costing the state somewhere between $3 to $4 billion a year. And so AB 1790 would repeal that tax dodge, and thereby, majorly assisting us in closing the budget gap, because we have something like a $30 billion budget gap we have to close this year. And the budget gap, if you just leave it to Newsom, who wants to run for president and doesn't want to tick off anybody with new taxes, he's going to slash Medicaid, he's going to slash food stamps, he's going to slash all kinds of nutrition programs across the state, with the idea that I can't raise taxes, I just have to cut the heck out of a lot of programs. They're talking about throwing 3 million people off of Medicaid or Medi-Cal, 1.2 million people off of Medi-Cal. So that's sort of the Newsom solution to our budget crisis, just slash away. So this is a major effort, the only one that's so far, moving along to let's start raising revenues instead of slashing services and programs. So that is AB 1790. It did make it out of committee on Monday. I guess that's still just 2 days ago. So it's alive and on its way to the Appropriations Committee as well. You can imagine, what all the corporations that use that tax dodge think about the bill and how much money they're going to spend trying to protect their $3 to $4 billion tax break. So those are our two big ones. And then we also have a Assembly Joint Resolution number 25. And that one calls upon our members of Congress to roll back all of the cuts to the ACA, Affordable Care Act subsidies that helped a lot of people afford medical insurance that Biden put in place and renewed. And so there's been much lower cost to medical insurance under the Affordable Care Act because the subsidy has been there for the last few years. And then, of course, Trump and the big ugly bill took that out. So this would call on our congressional representatives, and this is something that you can bring up with Tran and anybody else who's running for a House seat. This resolution is calling on them to work to restore that, subsidy for ACA benefits. So those are our three big bills. The AJR 25 has already cleared the Assembly. It's on the Senate side. So it's moving along. I don't know if I used up all my time or not. I was too busy talking, trying to remember to say everything that I know about.
Well,
I
not
guess I could
only
take
have you not used up your time, but our next speaker isn't here yet. So,
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Oh, well, let me tell you about the weather in Las Vegas. It's not that. I'm at the the Alliance for Retired Americans Conference in Las Vegas. I'm sitting in my room, as you can see, so we could join each other here. Actually, we've heard some tremendously important presentations on what the Trump administration is doing to our Social Security system. And I do plan to be going around. They're cutting staff so drastically. When I had to get my Social Security, I live in Benicia and I drove over to Vallejo, which is about 10 minutes, and there was an office and waited about 30 minutes. And there was a nice person who then helped me to fill out my form and, cross all the T's and, dot all the I's and, start my Social Security benefit. It was lovely. They want to close all those offices. So probably most of you have gotten your Social Security started. So hopefully this won't affect you. But for anybody going into the system, in a year or two, there's going to be some web thing to deal with in English probably, and nobody to help you in case you don't understand a question. And they're going to use AI to reject Social Security claims. So that certainly will hurt. That's one of the things I learned while I was in Las Vegas. We really got to get our Congress people to stand up for us against all these attacks on Social Security Administration. They're really going to be devastating.
all right. Well, thank you, Ramon.
All right.
Our next speaker has shown up. So,
Okay. Well,
thank you.
I will jump off if that's what works. I guess I used up my
great
question
presentation, and we're going to take your advice, no doubt, and support that legislation.
Yeah, and I could send through fact sheets if you want that you can distribute through your organization for those three bills.
Sounds good.
See that you get those. And also, we're trying to recruit people for our phone bank in the Tran district. So we'll let you know.
And
Thank you so much for your time.
My email address in the chat.
Right. What do you want in the chat? My address?
Well, I'm typing. Yeah, why don't you put your address in too?
I will stick that in there, and I don't want to be in front of, and I'm glad I'm going in front of and not behind Weber.
I have spoken after Dr. Weber, and it is not.
No.
It's not something you want to do on purpose.
It's like going on stage after Hendrix. You don't want to do it.
Okay, so on
right.
that note, thank you again.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Dr. Weber.
Somebody's got to go before me and after me. I can't just be out there by myself. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you could go first.
I could go first, and then people come after me.
That's right. Yeah,
so unless I'm the only one on program, but I enjoy hearing everybody. I enjoy hearing all the good things that you guys are doing, and I'm just always excited that people just come to meetings nowadays, because that's extremely important, given all the chaos and the crisis that we are in. I can't even begin to tell you all the stuff that's happening, other than we must stay organized, we must be vigilant, and we must be careful and helpful to each other as we fight this battle, because without it, we're not going to get very far. And I can tell you there is something new every day that's being put to us to challenge us, to take us off focus. There's a lawsuit every day, if not 2 and 3, about whatever issue it might be that someone wants to bring up for the day. It's almost like, whack-a-mole. Every day we're knocking something down, trying to get something up, trying to keep it going. And it's, as I tell young people, it should be a wake-up call because of the tremendous attacks on voting. It should indicate to them that voting must be really, really important. It must have some significance because, you know, in the past, people just, you know, our young folks would say, well, it's not that important, or, you know, I'll do it when I get older, when I'm more serious, you know, when it really affects me. And now folks are discovering that it affects them now, not next year, not in when they're 30 or whatever age it may be, that the attacks on our university, the attacks on our efforts to try to educate our kids is really clear. The issues with regards to our voting, the fact that people are attacking things that really, when I ask folks, it doesn't really make sense because when you ask the question, why are you doing this? There really is no answer. You know, why do you want to eliminate vote by mail? You know, what did vote by mail do to you that is so devastating? And people don't tell you that, you know, exactly what it is. They'll just say, well, we want to deal with the issue of making sure we eliminate fraud and deception and so forth and so on. And then you ask them, show you where the fraud and deception is, and nobody can tell you that, but they just tell you that this would make it better, period. It'll cost you more money. It'll cost you more time to vote. Everyone would have to re-register to vote. Anytime you change your name or your address, you'd have to go in person to do it. All these things are inconveniences, and but they tell you that it's because it'll make it better for you, without telling you exactly what it is. And we've had this challenge with the federal government, obviously trying to get all of your information, all of your data, all the things that they wanted from the Department of Justice. And when I didn't give it to them, the question was, well, why do you need it? You know, why is this something that has some relevance to you? And it really didn't, other than they want a record on everybody so they can keep everybody's record and follow them and at some point intimidate them in terms of what is happening. So we are in a battle, as we know. I think, and if you pay attention to what's happening with all of the issues now around with the issue of redistricting, and not just what happened in Texas and not California, but if you look now, you're looking at Virginia, you're looking at Louisiana, you're looking at all these things. Louisiana just eliminated some of the protections in terms of the Voting Rights Act this past year past day, really happened today with the Supreme Court. Taking away some of those provisions. We're nervous about what's happening with the Supreme Court and the Mississippi case, because if that happens and they try to apply it to everyone in the nation, that means no one will be able, that if your ballot doesn't get in on the day of election and you put it in the mail, despite the fact that it would be postmarked, it will not be counted. So it puts once again, you know, as if, and that's 30 some odd states who have some kind of grace period, whether it's 4 or 5 days, or in California, 7 days, that says if your stuff is postmarked and for whatever reason, and knowing how challenging our postal system can be, even when you just mail a simple letter to some folks around the corner, it might take them a week to get there because of some other kinds of things that might be happening. So that would be a difficult challenge, and it would make it, obviously, our vote by mail a system that we'd have to work very hard to make sure it's effective and that everyone gets their mail in far in advance. Otherwise, they may find that it is not there. So we are constantly battling this battle. There are lots of folks who are engaged and trying to make a difference. We will have voter ID on the ballot this year. And that also, DeMaio's bill, those of you in California kind of know DeMaio. And so we'll have a voter ID where everyone will have to get another ID in terms of registering to vote. And that system then would be monitored, and you'd have a number and all those kinds of things that would. And once again, I asked the question, what would we get from it other than another system that would cost us more money? What's the problem, and is this a solution to the problem? And no one has identified the problem other than they say it will prevent us from having fraud and deception, as if we have lots of fraud and deception. And when you say there's not a lot of fraud and deception in California, that's been determined by the courts, that's been determined by researchers, they still say it'll make it better for you. You know, it would make life easier and better for everyone. So we're battling this. As I tell folks, we're battling this monster that we have that is basically taking away much of what we have. And I never, like I told folks, I never believed, I knew it would get bad, but I never thought it would get this bad. I never thought we would be confronted with so many, what I consider to be small issues. And you ask yourself, what is the point of this? Why do we need a whole new system of registering people to vote as if something is wrong with the current system? And how would everybody have to register to vote, and what would they have to do, and go in person, and so forth and so on? What's so bad about vote by mail that all of a sudden now we have to get rid of it, despite the fact that the president has spent his whole life voting by mail and would continue to do so as he defines who would be eligible, people who are, he said, who are in elected position like himself, who has to move around a bit. So as a result, he would be eligible for vote by mail. So those are the challenges we face. California is at the center of much of this because obviously there's an effort and a desire to basically take the largest voting base in the nation and make it obviously run by the federal government. That is the ultimate goal, is to take our elected system and turn it into a federal system. When I was in things out here, when I was in Germany recently on a visit with many of our folks in terms of voting, and several of our secretaries of states were with us, and we went to Germany to see what they were doing. This was in the fall. And we went to the parliament, and the parliament was coming back from, they had spent portion of last year at our system in 2024. And they had a question for us. They were saying that they had gone across the United States, and they had been able to observe our voting system. And they were really impressed that they saw people, women, young folks, non-government officials actually working in our polls, working the day of election. And they just thought that was amazing, that was wonderful, that we allow citizens, they said, because no one in Germany touches a ballot who doesn't have on a uniform, And so they were excited, the fact that this was really the people of California, this was the people of the United States who actually were engaged in voting. And so they saw that. They also went and observed some of the voting that took place by walking down and seeing folks taking the ballots out and putting them in the machine, and saw them reading the signatures. And so they got a chance to get relatively close to voting. And they thought that was wonderful, that this was an American thing to be done. This was really, really the best. So then they were on their way back, and they had to stop at White House at the government, and on their way out to just chat about what they saw. And they asked a question. They said, they were saying, what did you see? And they was beginning to tell them about folks of all ages, basically working in the polls, getting people to vote, those kinds of things, and them being able to walk down the aisles and look and see folks handling the ballots in terms of putting them in the machine and all that stuff. So they thought it was great. And they were told by those who were a part of the administration, they said, don't believe anything you saw, because that's all a fraud. That was made up for you guys. And so they came back to Germany confused, and they asked us the question. There were 12 of us, Secretary of States. They said, they told us what they saw. They said, but they told us that was a fraud, that was not real, that was just created for us. And they asked us, what is it? Is it or is it not real? And there were, I think there were 12 of us, 10 or 12 of us. 3 of us were Democrats, the rest were Republicans. And they were secretaries of state, and they all sat there staring at them and did not answer. They said, is there something we could do together that would be productive? And they said this almost everywhere we went. Can we work as a team? Can we do something? And here these people are asking him, is this real? Is this really, or is it made up? Is it just a fraud for us? And they said absolutely nothing. I raised my hand and I said, I know I look a little different than everybody in this room, and I probably think a whole lot different than my colleagues. I said, but let me tell you, it was not a fraud. What you saw was real. I said, but we have a president who wants you to believe that all of that is deception. I said, that's what we've done for 200 years in this country in terms of voting. And that was what you saw with your own eyes as you went from place to place, was how our voting system works. And one of the women came up to me afterwards and thanked me she said, I thought it was. I've been to the United States before, and I've always seen that. And I couldn't believe that this had been like a movie or something created for us. So I was appalled that my friends, the colleagues who were with me from other states, basically all they wanted to say was, is there something we could do together as a team? Could we, like have a party, I guess? I'm not sure what, but I just thought it was interesting that they could not say, and they were basically told they could not say that it was real, because then someone would go back and tell the administration and they may not get reelected as the Secretary of State. So it was shocking to me. I had not thought that these folks would be afraid to say what you saw was correct. It is real. That's what our voting system is about. But they refused to say it out of fear. And some of the other Democrats who wanted to say it didn't say, can we do something together? They just said nothing, because their governor or whoever appointed them is a Republican and they're Democrats. But I just thought it was interesting. And I thought, my God, we are really in bad condition. We're in another country and they can't stand up for our voting system. So that's where we are, and that's what we're going to continue to fight. We're up for re-election, and we're pushing really hard in everything that we do. I'm very grateful that we have Banta on our team, and we work together to make sure that we are fighting every step of the way. But understand that there's something every day to fight. There's something that is attacked every day when we come in. There are whether it's the guy in Riverside trying to take the ballots and he knew he should not have, and trying to prevent us from getting it back. And we have spent weeks in court fighting him and obviously winning because he does work for the Attorney General, even though he doesn't want to admit it. And he had a friend who was a judge who gave him all these orders so he could go in and take things himself, who had already endorsed him for governor. So it is that kind of thing. And we anticipate a lot more in the coming months. We anticipate that, and our staff and folks are prepared for it. There'll be who knows what, a lot of different things that will be coming forth. But we know that, and we have staff and people prepared, and to make sure that our voting system is secure. They've assured us, and I don't necessarily believe it, that there will be no ICE at our voting system centers. At least that's what they told us in a meeting when we were meeting with the FBI and some of the others and CISA and some of the other agencies, that ICE will not be at our voting system centers. I don't believe it, but at least they told us that, and we recorded the information. But we have folks who are afraid, and I tell them, if you're afraid, then make sure that you basically vote by mail, but don't let them deter you from voting. If you're afraid to go to the voting centers, our boxes are very secure, and we have lots of them across the state, and our documents will show you, our materials will show you exactly where they are, and that you can utilize that to make sure that your ballot is put in on time. If for some reason the Washington decision happens and we're not allowed to have a grace period, then we'll have to adjust an awful lot of things in our voting system to make sure that we inform people how to vote, where they can vote, what time to vote. So we're preparing for all of those contingencies that might happen. We hope they don't happen. We hope that we can continue to have this grace period, as 30 some odd states have, to let people to vote. But we have no idea what we're dealing with the Supreme Court that is there, and the 6-3 majority that they hold in the court. It is very difficult to predict what is going to happen. I tell young people, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. We've kind of paid attention, but we let them take 2 votes on the Supreme Court from Obama, and we didn't say anything. We said a little bit, but we didn't fight hard enough. And we didn't understand what they were planning and preparing for. And now we see that the 6-3 vote has really made the rest of the members of the Supreme Court almost moot in terms of being able to fight the things that we've been fighting for so long. And with us, it's often difficult. We have to really calculate whether we're going to take something to court, because of the 6-3 obviously puts us at a disadvantage so often. And so we have to figure out exactly when we fight at the court level and when we don't, because if we lose, it makes it worse rather than better. If Mississippi had not gone to the Supreme Court and was pulled there, it may have affected Mississippi, but it would not have affected all of the states. And so that's the challenge we constantly face, is that will it affect everyone, and how do we minimize the impact on everyone in the nation while we're fighting these battles? But we hope at some point that will be profound when it comes to the election in June, as well as the one in November, and that we will be preparing for 2028 in terms of the election. But it's a serious time, and I tell young people when I meet with them everywhere, it is a serious time. The good thing is that in the last election that we just had, young people 18 to 25 outvoted those who were 25 to 30. And so that's good, because before they weren't taking us too seriously, but now they're now they're voting in the universities. They're taking advantage of it. We have competitions going on at all of our universities in California. Every last one of them are part of a competition system, and they're actually getting kids registered and getting them to vote. And that's a good sign, because I think they understand now just how serious this is, and that they are not sidelined. They're major players in making sure that things go well. So, but anyway, any questions for me?
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, are there any questions? I happen to know that Renee has a question.
Okay.
So Renee, if you could unmute yourself and ask the question.
Sure, thank you. Good evening, Dr. Weber. I'm a fan, but I'm telling you, I had to pick my jaw up off the floor. Uh, um, so, there's been a lot of press on the Grundman anti-Semitic rant that's in the voter guide. So, how did this happen, and what's being done about it?
Well, it's one of those things that many of the small counties and have better regulations than we do. Our regulations are not very strong. And so our ballot is looked at, and our ballots are looked at by a team of lawyers, and not only in our office, but also in the AG's office. And so they're the ones who actually looked at the document to determine whether or not it met our minimal standards, which are not very strong, and whether or not we would, if we took it to the courts. One of the concerns was among the lawyers in AG's office is that because this guy was obviously planning this, if we had taken it to court, we would lose on the First Amendment grounds, and as a result, it would make it worse. So we're in the process of writing different regulations now that would strengthen our document that's not very strong in our Constitution with regards to what we can do and what we can't do with ballots and those kinds of things. And so most of us were very upset about it, but we looked at it and realized he's 1 out of 700 or 70 or whatever it is. And at least you know who he is now. Not to vote for him, if nothing else. But we're rewriting with some of the folks in the legislature. We're writing some stronger guidelines and rules, and hopefully they can be tested before the 2028 election, so that we can basically make sure that in the courts that it will stand, and that we will not find ourselves in a battle with this guy or anybody like him and actually lose and find ourselves with a First Amendment situation that would open up everything. And so that was our main concern with regards to it. But these are the decisions that we give to our attorneys and our AG office, because if we just make decisions and then we all go to court on all of them, then we're basically in disaster. Plus, our attorneys are the ones who would have to defend us. So it was their recommendations. They brought it to us. We looked at it, and it wasn't something we liked very much in terms of recommendation, but we realized that the recommendations that we had in our own regulations were not very strong, and almost made it possible for people to almost say anything. And we didn't want to have a First Amendment loss.
Thank you.
These are ugly times.
Ugly.
They're really ugly times. And you try to find the best out of it. I told folks when I met with them yesterday, several different groups, I said, well, at least you know who he is. I said, if we had created some regulation that says you can only give your name and address and your phone number, we wouldn't have known who he was. And then we'd have said, oh, what the heck was this? And I've seen that happen in San Diego when we had a group of women who ran for the school board, and their goal was to get rid of sex education and something else. And it was 3 of them that ran, and they won. And then they came out and tried to take all the curriculum and everything out. And the community in North County fought it for, they had to fight to get it took 4 years to get those people off the school board. Because no one knew who they were, but they came in with a vengeance. And their goal was to basically eliminate all of the curriculum that we had that in any sense. And it was really ugly because nobody knew who they were. So, so that's how it ended up on there through our AG office and our attorneys who monitor and who basically make the decisions and to what goes on and what goes off of the ballots. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Saul. So anyway, yeah.
Anybody
Mr.
else?
McGuire is here.
Yeah, I see that. And he's up next, but
Okay, I hadn't seen him in a while.
I think if there's anyone else with a question, I think you could take one more.
Yeah, if somebody else has a question, I'm more than happy to answer it.
Okay, if so, raise your hand, but keep it short if you do have a question. Okay, I guess everybody is happy then.
That's good. Well, that's great, Mike. It's good to see you always. You're always in charge of everything in San Diego and everywhere else I go, looks like. But Mike, it's good to see you guys. Good to see you. Hope things are going well. Listen, you guys, whatever you do, don't forget to vote. It's critically important. I always tell folks, if your kids don't vote, don't feed them. So, make that a practice in my house with my kids, my grandkids, whoever they are. You don't vote, you don't deserve to eat because you're really just a liability and rather than an asset. So I don't want to waste my good food on you. So I tell my kids that. They all laugh, but they all know that they better go vote because I'm serious. All right. You guys have a good night. Thank you so very much for having me with you. You take care.
Personal addition to what you said is when you go vote, please vote for Shirley Weber.
Yes, please do that. My opponent doesn't believe in anything that we believe in. And he thinks I should never have allowed you guys to have a Prop 50 on the ballot. And I told him, I'm not Trump. I try not to take things out. I go by the rules and regulations that are there because when you start making your own decisions, life gets funky. And we're in a funky position right now. But thank you guys so much. Appreciate your support.
Okay. And Mike McGuire's up next. You might want to hang around and hear him if you're interested.
I probably will. I'm just going to turn my camera off if I can figure that out.
All right.
I want to hear Mike, what are you running for?
Hey, how you doing, Dr. Weber?
I'm good.
For Congress. I got to tell you, Dr. Weber is truly the best. And no one fights harder for voting rights in this country besides Dr. Weber. And we owe her a debt of gratitude. We love it.
Well, you know what? I got that from my parents that nobody would let them vote in Arkansas. And so when they came to California, they opened up the voting in our living room in South Central LA. And my mother was a poll worker and people voted in our living room. My dad transformed our living room. And we grew up walking down the driveway because the folks were doing important business in the living room, which was voting. So it's in my DNA. All of us, all 8 of us vote and all of our kids vote. And we're serious. We tell them you don't vote, you don't eat here. So, they understand that. That's just critically. But it's good to see. So you're running for Congress?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
All right. That's exciting.
No, it's great. And also,
that's a great transition to
Mike,
why don't you take
vote for Mike? Vote for Mike. Take care, you guys. Take care.
Good to see you, Dr. Weber.
Thank you, Shirley.
Well, just want to say thank you so much to Mr. Chair. Janine, thank you so much also as well for all your work. But Mr. Chair, it's really wonderful to see you. How the heck's everybody doing tonight? It's good to see you. Super excited. I want to say thank you so much for your incredible support. And meant what I said. Our Secretary of State is truly the best in the country and so incredibly grateful for her. And especially in these challenging times, we need her leadership and her muscle to go to the mat against Donald Trump. And that's why I want to show up here and say thank you to each and every one of you. You talk about muscle. What you all did at passing Proposition 50, taking to the streets, taking to the phones, moving votes. Not only did we win big, we won with a blue tsunami, 29 points. Thank you to each and every one of you for standing up and taking the fight to Donald Trump. Every community, every county, all throughout this state. And this would not have happened without your leadership. And just want to say how grateful I am knowing who were the ones that got it done. And that's each and every one of you. And look, I'll be quick and turn it over to each of you because I know I'm coming in towards the end. But I just want to say how grateful I am. Thank you to so many of you who have been so supportive. And right now, I hope that you will agree with me that our nation's hanging on by a thread. Am I right? And the democracy that we've all worked so hard for. And I want to acknowledge if there are any veterans who are with us here tonight who have fought on foreign soils. And for each and every one of you who have taken to the streets over the years to be able to fight for civil rights, reproductive freedom, for social justice. All of you have worked so hard for this country. And I don't know if you feel like this, but I do. And now I feel our country, because of Donald Trump, is fighting against us. And every couple of years, I think we all say that this is the most important election of our lifetime. And 250 years after this amazing yet imperfect nation was founded, it's never been more true. And we got to take to the streets, and we got to take our country back. This guy, Donald Trump, is a fascist. He is corrupt. He's a narcissist. He spits on the rule of law. He sets our Constitution on fire. He turns our global allies into enemies. Am I right? He's wrecking our economy. He's spending our tax dollars, our hard-earned tax dollars, to make our lives more expensive. He set our private police force out onto our streets. He's killing American citizens with state-sponsored violence. And it is up to all of us. We can't be silent. It would be immoral. We would be complicit. It's time to rise up as Democrats and time to take our country back. And that is why I'm running for Congress in the 1st Congressional District. The 1st Congressional District is a Prop 50 district. It runs from the coastal hills all the way out in Sonoma County, all the way out to the Nevada state line. And for 50 years, the North State of rural California has been under Republican rule. And what folks have seen from that, they've had their health care taken away, food taken off their tables, reproductive freedom stripped. It is time to stand up and fight back. And the only way that we're going to do that is that Democrats in Washington, D.C. need to grow a damn spine. Simple as that. We need to stand up and deliver on the issues that everyday Americans care about. We got to fight the corruption. We got to fight the chaos and the cruelty that's being advanced by this administration. And here's where I stand. Besides Donald Trump, I think income inequality is one of the greatest threats to American democracy. That's why I believe on day one, Democrats need to repeal the $2.2 trillion in tax cuts for billionaires. On day one, we need to take back the cuts to the Veterans Administration. 40,000 VA employees have been laid off. Another 40,000 are have received their pink slips. We will eliminate, under Donald Trump, 80,000 veterans workers, healthcare workers, doctors from the Veterans Administration, thousands from the Social Security Administration. And we know why. He wants to privatize the VA and Social Security. But Democrats, we can't let them. We have to raise the federal minimum wage that's been $7.25 for 20 years. Here in California, we've raised the minimum wage to the highest in the United States of America. We have to fully fund Social Security, tuition-free community college. We need to be able to implement a progressive tax system in this country. If we were to adopt the same progressive tax system that we have here in California, where 1.4% of the population of 40 million pay 50% of all the taxes in the state of California, we generate $10 to $15 trillion in a decade to once and for all fund Medicare for all, healthcare for every American, to fund tuition-free community college, universal childcare for every family. Childcare is one of the best economic development tools that we have in this country. And we need to repeal the $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid. In the district of the 1st Congressional District, 42% of the entire population are on Medicaid. Oroville Hospital, a small community hospital in Butte County, is already in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. 85% of their patients are on federal health care, either Medicare or Medicaid. According to the California Hospital Association, 6 to 10 hospitals will close by mid-2027 because of these Medicaid cuts. That's what Democrats have to stand for. We have to codify Roe v. Wade, pass the Green New Deal. Am I right? Democrats, we have to abolish ICE in this country. We have to end this illegal war in Iran, and we have to put term limits on the United States Supreme Court if we ever hope to overturn Citizens United in this state, in this country. I don't take fossil fuel money. I don't take APAC money. And when some talk about taking on corporations, that's what I've done in the state Senate. I've held corporate polluters accountable, banned offshore oil drilling. When AT&T wanted to cut all rural phone lines in the state of California, we didn't just kill AT&T's bill once, we killed it twice. And we've taken on insurance companies and won to protect fire victims. But I want to end it right here and again say thank you to each and every one of you. And I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to Councilwoman Sandra Lowe, who does incredible work in the city of Sonoma and all throughout the state. And Bonnie from CARA, thank you. And Carol from Sonoma County. They are some of the best. And I just want to acknowledge each and every one of you. But look, I've never been more proud to be a Californian. When Donald Trump attacked this state, we fought back. We were united. We defended our voting rights. We defended the rule of law. We've taken it to the streets and defended our immigrant community, our environmental laws. We've taken to the streets and we passed Proposition 50. We're winning against the Trump administration nearly 2/3 of the time in court, clawing back nearly $1 trillion in illegal cuts that Donald Trump has been such a punitive, I won't say what he is. He's been punitive, taking it away from this state. And there's a clear line that Democrats have to stand up to, and that's that democracy is non-negotiable. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? And flipping the House, flipping this district, it's not symbolic, it's strategic. If we care about healthcare, if we care about veterans and good public schools, if we care about Medicare for all, if we care about our civil rights and our democracy and our Constitution, then we are going to flip this seat and we're going to take back Congress. We're going to take back this country. And again, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Jason Lyles is going to put a link into the chat right now. We're doing phone banks twice a week. We're going to be ramping up next week to 4 times a week. We'd be honored if you could join us. They're virtual phone banks. They're super easy. And you're only calling Democrats, so you won't get yelled at by your weird Republican uncle, I promise you. But it's just Democrats from across the North State. And I'd be deeply honored if you'd be willing to come out and support. And I just want to say thank you for your amazing work with this caucus and for seniors across the state. I'm so honored to be here, Mr. Chair. Thank you for this honor.
Thank you, Mike. And I loved what you said, and I really hope you get into Congress so that we can get a majority in and make some of those things happen.
We got it.
We don't have time for a Q&A, but so Renee, you might want to put your hand down.
Good to see you, Renee. Thank you so much for everything. It's great to see you.
Yeah, and thanks again for your time and for meeting with us.
Hell yes. Thank you, everybody. Let's go out and win this thing. Thanks, everybody. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You are welcome. Okay, so next up we have the DNC report. So I think Sandra Lowe is going to start us off. Is that correct?
I am. Yep. Thanks. Thanks, Mike. And as the hour is late, I will be brief. And thank you all. I wanted to sort of put this together as a DNC, who, what, where, why, how, right? So we did have a meeting a couple weeks ago. It was in the beautiful city of New Orleans. And if you haven't been there, you must go. It's a wonderful place to visit. So basically what the DNC does is it's a fundraising mechanism that in the past would be sort of reserved for the presidential, right? And occasionally some other races. But under Ken Martin's leadership, we have gone from using only 5% of the DNC budget for state parties to almost 25%. of the DNC budget is going to state parties. And as a result of that, you've seen these incredible wins all over the country and in flipping seats. And so it has been the focus of Chair Martin to win everywhere and to compete everywhere. And so I say that because when you're asked to give money to the DNC, a lot of people have this notion that it's going to go, they don't even know where it's going to go. And they think the DNC is endorsing candidates, which we do not. We do not endorse candidates. I mean, what happens at the convention is the candidate for president, obviously, but that's something that's part of what the states do in terms of primaries and so forth. So the DNC is really the backbone in a lot of ways in setting there's some resolutions that got passed that sort of set that this is what we believe in. And then we look very closely at the rules for the party. So this time, a couple things happened where we looked at what can we do to make the convention more accessible. And so some resolutions were passed to do that. Some rules were passed to make it more accessible. So if any of you have ever been to the convention and, they make you walk a mile and then climb upstairs, and it's just not compatible for people who are challenged with their mobility to get around. And we want this party to be for everyone. And we don't want people to feel like, well, I can't be a delegate because I can't walk up those stairs, or I can't get that bus, or whatever. So we're trying to make it better, and it really needs to be better. It has been not so good for folks. The other thing is, where's it going to be? So we had several cities kind of wine and dine us, trying to get us to think that their city would be the best city to hold this convention. My top pick, I'll be very frank, is Denver. Denver presented an incredible presentation in terms of the ability to house everybody nearby. In Chicago, there were people that, were far away. And when they were thinking about it during COVID of doing it in Milwaukee, there were people that were going to have to stay in Chicago to go to a convention in Milwaukee. And that didn't seem right. So Denver has all of the facilities and so forth. But there were also some pitches from Boston, from Chicago, and Atlanta. So we will be looking at that. I also want to really shout out all of my colleagues, because many of them sit on the resolutions committee, and specifically want to shout out Michael Kapp for really pushing for progressive resolutions. Some of them get watered down and then he takes his name off it. He really stands strong for progressive values in California. So I always want to give Michael a shout out for doing that. And also, he was the one that pushed for having all of our materials for running for the convention to be a delegate in other languages. And believe it or not, there was like dispute over this, which is just like a non-issue in California. Of course, we're going to translate things. Of course, we're going to make it accessible. And then he was able to get Jane Klebe, who is the chair of the executive directors, if you will, of the party, to actually fund it. So that was a big move forward. So accessibility, making sure that we have materials in all languages, making sure that people understand that the money that they're giving is not just, somewhere in Washington. It's actually a quarter of it is going back to the states to help on the ground. And with that, I will either entertain questions or let people, go back to watching the A's game. You're on mute, Mike.
Oops, I was muted, but what I said was just brilliant. But I said the other option is you might want to introduce the other people who are
all right
in the meeting who are DNC members.
I know I saw Annalisa, and I don't know if anyone else. I'm scrolling through right now. I think just Annalisa is here.
Okay.
So hi, Annalisa, and you know,
Annalise, you want to take a minute to say something about the DNC?
Sure. It was so great being in New Orleans, and I do serve on the resolutions committee. And so I know, I'm sure probably a lot of you heard, you know, the issue, one of the hot button issues is the Gaza, Israel, Palestine, those issues. And the resolutions committee is strongly encouraging that the working group set up by Ken Martin on the Middle East issues take up this resolution issue and try to come to some consensus language. So we're very well represented on that Middle Eastern task force. DNC member Deborah Cunningham-Skirnick, DNC member Andrew Lackman, DNC member Joe Salas are all on that task force. And so we really do think that some of the language that we've come up with in the California Democratic Party on these issues is a good template nationally. So sort of our mandate, we can't force them, but like our strong encouragement from the resolutions committee of the DNC is for the Middle East task force to come up with something and bring it to us at our next meeting, which will be in August in Austin, Texas. And then the other issue that I thought was interesting is the party did pass a resolution banning all dark money. I know there was also some discussion about that. Should it call out specific dark money, including APAC? The consensus was that it should be speaking nationally to eliminate dark money across the party. And that's been a priority of Chair Ken Martin to do that. Some of the other things that were really interesting is that I attended a training on voter protection. The DNC is launching a massive voter protection program. And in fact, there will be an update on this most recent case, the Supreme Court ruling that we saw today in Louisiana versus Calais. I can put that link in the chat. It's free to attend. It's going to be a discussion about how we fight back on those issues. I'm also a member of the DNC task force on branding and messaging, which is also Andrew Lackman's on that one, and Deborah Cunningham-Skirnick and myself from California. And it's kind of about, it's sort of a small task force talking about the issues that we think the party should be focusing on for messaging. So obviously a lot of that focusing on affordability and protecting healthcare. I don't know if there's time for questions, but I'm happy to take any.
There really isn't time for questions.
Is there?
No, but I see Renee has a question. So go ahead, Renee. Make it a quick one, though.
Okay, thank you, Mike. One of the things that I hear in my community is there's just such a strong desire to get clear messages from the Democratic Party, and most voters do not distinguish between the DNC and the state party and whatnot. So I just urge you to coordinate, and messaging is something that is just ongoing. And our Democrats in our communities need to be hearing from you and from CADEM and from, all the different Democratic groups. We've got what is it, like a one voice policy or something? But, I actually wrote the state party and I said, how do we all sing with one voice when nobody's given us the tune? So there's just a frustration and also a yearning to have a sort of an ongoing pipeline with messaging starting yesterday.
I know that the party's very, very aware of it. And in fact, one of the programs that they're putting out there is the local listener program, like having activists in the community, sort of like a deep canvassing, listening to community members and what's on their mind. And then also, if you notice the DNC's social media platforms, it's become very, very quick in the things that they're putting out. And they're putting out constantly on all the different platforms. And they're engaging a lot of people who are sort of maybe not well known, but influencers in their particular community, like in their school board or things like that can really respond quickly and authentically to people in the community, sort of micro-targeting it. But I believe there's always room for improvement, and those are some of the things the party's really focused on.
Thank you. We just need to know who they are so we can follow them.
Okay, let me check the agenda and see if we have time for either more questions here or an open mic. And we only have 11 minutes till we have to shut down. So I don't think so. If anyone has a 1 minute question for the DNC members and a 1 minute answer from the DNC member.
I will say, just piggybacking on what Annalisa had to say, that, for example, there will be a response they sent out today to register for the Southern States response to the latest Supreme Court tragedy regarding the districts in Louisiana, as it so happens. So there will be, they have been very, very good about when these things happen to immediately put out the people who are being most knowledgeable on it to give us what we need to do. And on that, we do need to have some message discipline. We need to pass the Voting Rights Act. But we can't do it until we flip these seats. So let's get Mike McGuire, whoever you're supporting there. Of course, I'm an old friend of Mike's, so Sonoma guy. So, but let's get these congressional seats, because if we can't win these congressional seats, we're not going to be able to do the things we need to do.
Okay. Well, I'd say it's time to wrap up. So thank you, everybody. I do have some thoughts, though, and since I'm the chair, I think I'm going to go ahead and say them. It struck me when Dr. Weber was talking, and she was talking about what the Republicans are doing to make it more difficult to vote. And one of those is the Postmaster General, no doubt at the orders of the Republicans, has changed the postmarking that gets done to where it's when the mail item, which let's say a ballot, that has to be have a postmark of election day or earlier. Instead of it being postmarked that day, it probably will get postmarked a day later when it actually gets processed by the main post office and sent off. And then you've lost the ability to have your ballot counted, because as far as the Republicans are concerned, you didn't get your ballot in on time. So what you can do, if it's election day and you've got your ballot and you look at it and you go, I haven't filled this thing out, and it's so far to go to a drop box to put it in, but I can get to the post office and I know it'll be fine because I'll get the right postmark. You won't. But what you can do is go into the post office, go to the front desk and say, I'd like to mail this. And I would, and I tried this, and I said to the postal clerk, I said, is it true that that you can stamp a postmark of today on the envelope? And she said, only if you ask. And I said, well, I hereby ask. And sure enough, she stamped it and it went off, and it actually did have a due date. And ironically enough, it was to the Secretary of State and the FPPC, and it had a deadline. And I had no problem with the deadline because I got it stamped. So if you find yourself in that situation, or you might want to spread the word, that on voting day or on election day or the day before, go in, and if you're not going to go to a drop box, go to the post office and the office and get your ballot hand postmarked. So that's my little word of wisdom. I'm not sure it's wisdom, but whatever it is. So on that note, I would say it's time to adjourn. So does anyone object to adjourning now? Raise your hand. Okay, I didn't think I'd see any. So thanks everybody for coming, and keep in mind that If you missed anything, or if you want to see it again, or if you have people who said, oh, what happened at that meeting? It will be on our YouTube channel in a few days. So you can reminisce or do whatever you want. So meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.